So let's go and create the URL for our post. So let's fix this. Let's go to our web.php, and in here, let's create a new route with the name of assign permissions to role. And in here, we also need the role ID. So we will pass the role ID, and let's create our roles, call our roles and permission controller, and assign permissions method. Now let's create this method. It's called public function assign permission, and in here we will accept request and also the role ID. So first thing that we have to find the role by typing role colon find or fail and pass the ID. Then after that we have to add all the permissions that we get from the user, all this permission to our role. So for that I will just say role sync permission and pass the permissions that I get from the user. So sync permission, what it will do, it will not just add the permission, it will check if it's the permission is exists, it does not delete it. If it's not there, it will add. Otherwise, if the user, for example, uncheck any permission, it will just delete that one. So let's return back to the rules.index or return redirect and to the route. So we will say roles dot index. That's it. Actually, let's give them a message also. Let's say success permissions added successfully. Now let's add this route to our form. So let's go to permissions, and in here let's call roles and our newly created assign permission to role, and finally the role ID. So we will say role dot ID. Now let's save everything. Let's go here. Okay, we forgot our submit button. Let's go down, and in here let's create a button with the type of submit and call it save permissions. Now let's go back, refresh. We got our button in here, but let's give them a class also. So let's say class name, and this give them this class name. Okay, we got our button in here. Now let's go and create a function to handle the on change of our checkboxes and set it to data so we can submit our form. So in the checkbox in here, let's create call on change, and in here we will call a functions toggle permission, then we will pass the permission name. So permission name. Now let's go and create this function. So in here let's create cons and our function name, then in the parameter we will get the permission. So permission, and in here inside this function we will check if data dot permissions dot includes permission name permission. So let's change this to permission name so we can don't get confused. So if this condition is true, then we will set our data permissions, set data permissions, and data dot permissions dot filter be not equal to permission name, else set data permissions. So permissions and data dot permissions and permission name. That's it. Let's make it a small p. Now let's create our permissions array also, which we get from the server by typing permissions and get it from permissions dot map p, and we just want the name. That's it. Now let's go to the browser In here, let's select some permissions and click Save Permission. Okay, we got the text that the permission as okay, we got permission added successfully. Now, if we go to inside our database and refresh the page, in here we can see all the list of permissions and the role IDs in outside our database. Now, if we click the permission again, all our permission which we selected previously are gone. So let's fix them so they can be checked by default if we already have those permissions. So let's go to inside our input checkbox, and in here let's tag check and check inside the our permissions array. If the name exists, then we will mark it as the true. So we will type here data dot permissions dot includes, and in here we will pass the permission name. Now, if we go back to our browser, let's refresh. We got our default permissions that we have selected previously. So if I select all of them, so let's select all of them and click save. Now, if I click permissions again, all of them have been pre-selected. So if I unselect this two, save, go back, this two are unselected. So up to now we have learned how we can create the role, how we can add permission to that role. Now it's time for us to a- assign users. So assign users to these rules.